Next, let's go to the next topic, which is thought finds a world and creates one also. Again, thought finds a world and creates one also. So, you are somehow saying that a thought, we'll explore what a thought is and everything, but in this topic, you're trying to say that there is a thought, and the thought is so powerful that it can find a destination of its own. Okay, it can find a destination of its own, and that thought can create new destinations. Okay, so thought finds a world. World means over here destination, the people who are going to rally behind that thought, the organizations that could rally behind the thought, etc. And it creates one also means that. So the thought will find its own people, even whatever time comes. And in the process, what also happens is thought can create a new world also, create a new destination also. Out of the topics that were there in the section 1, this personally is one that is a little bit on the, if you look at the dimensions that can be generated, or if you look at the general trend of it, it has a little bit limitation in what all areas you can think about. But even this is actually something you can break down. So I'll help you how to break this down. It's a third topic. We have 8 topics.
8 also you should discuss. Huh?
Yeah. This is mains exam, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we are dealing with this topic, it brings into mind a certain quote by the Buddha that says that with our thoughts, we create the world. So with our thoughts, we create the world. Also, there is this, let me try to break this down into something more palatable for us. See, if you want to break this topic into simpler terms, it comes with the idea that they're saying thought finds a world and creates one also. So let's start off with the fact that when you initially have a thought, okay, let's say I have a thought that I want to save the environment. Okay. So I am having this thought and I feel like I am doing a lot of damage to the environment and I want to do something for that purpose. Okay. So now what happens? I have this thought and what I try to do over here is I try to take actions. So from your thoughts, what stems about? Your actions come about. And when you start doing an action, what happens is now, for example, you are, you feel like, I'm using a lot of plastic and I need to cut down on my plastic and this is what I am going to do as my part for saving the environment. Okay. So what do I do is when I go out, instead of carrying taking a plastic bag from outside, I carry a cloth bag with me. Okay. So I do this action. Now what has happened? When I do this, my thought which led to my action has finally led to something, very actionable, very seen. A world is something like that. Okay? When I'm saying thought finds a world, it means that it can lead to something that is seen and felt. This is one thing. Okay, so I have done something actionable. I have done this and it means that it's now not just a thought in my head, but then it has found an actionable, seen, felt, tangible consequence. This is first. Second thing is when I do this, okay, probably there would be people around me who ask like, why are you doing this? I mean, is it some kind of a fad? Why are you doing this? There would be a lot of questions. And when I deal with those questions with my thought, what happens is it could maybe motivate others to follow likewise. Motivate others to follow likewise. So again, what has happened? My thought has found a group of people who also can think likewise. Okay. So the thought has found its destination. But in this doing this, what has happened? We have all through this part that first it was me, then there were lots of people, and then imagine this becomes such into a scenario where everyone's like, no, we are not going to carry plastic bags, we're just going to carry cloth bags. And then at some point the shopkeepers are like, okay, yeah, fine, nobody wants plastic bags these days, I'm going to phase out the plastic bags, I'm not going to use it anymore. What has it led to? That thought has led to a complete world or a complete scenario where now there are people, there are, interested organizations, there are other stakeholders who want to do the same. So what has happened? My thought initially, which did just find a seen or a felt aspect, has now created one all through it. It cannot just be my own creation. Now think about it. There might be similar people on different parts of the world thinking on the same lines, like, we need to save our environment. So what happens? This thought will find those people and finally all of this will be part of a movement that is maybe, conservation or something like that. So what has happened? My thought has found its initial crowd and also has created a crowd of its own or created a world of its own. Okay, this is one way to see it. So with our thoughts, when we say we create the world, we also have to understand it gives us so much of power that if the thought is on an opposite line, what happens? Even for that, there will be this kind of a consequence. That means, let's say, now one thought I just shared with you, which is the environmental conservation and things. What about if your thought is protectionism? you want to, let's say it started off with the idea that, I'm nationalistic. I want to protect the boundaries of my country. So that initially is my thought. Okay. So my initial thought is I want to protect my country from any external disturbances. If it is war or trade or anything, I want to protect my country. That thought, okay, that thought or that kind of a thought which stemmed from just hyper nationalism led to something called as protectionism. Protectionism means I will protect my country's borders at any cost. It can be economic, it can be political, I'll just protect it at any cost. So if a world leader has that kind of a mentality, what is the world that thought will find? That protectionism will find actions like imposing tariffs on other countries, mistreating the immigrants of other countries, etc. Okay? So those are the actionable things that this thought found about. But very soon what's going to happen? That idea of protectionism, when one thought is there, what is going to happen? The other countries are also going to be like, okay, if they are going to do this, we also will do the similar kind. So what happened? It will create a world of its own, create a system of its own, where some of the countries will be just bothered about protectionism and not about any other thoughts. They will not be thinking about global welfare. They will not be thinking about globalization. They'll just be thinking about their own countries. Okay. So again, what is the consequence of that? It will lead to alienation. It will lead to countries being competitive in a very unhealthy sense. It will lead to economic opportunities getting dimmed down. All of these different scenarios. Okay. So understand, now again, artificial intelligence, a thought. That thought initially found actionable consequences. But now it's creating a complete world of its own where multiple AI companies, AI has now such an impact that it's leading to people losing jobs, it's leading to companies' margins dropping, all of these scenarios coming in. So it starts off with the fact that thoughts find a world and creates one, but the world that's getting created, is it needed? Is it not needed? Is all up for question. So this can be the first part of the essay. The second part of the essay can be somewhere where do all thoughts find worlds or create worlds? Okay. Now here is the question. Do all thoughts show this kind of a trajectory? And this is where you can understand that maybe when you have a thought, so for example, let's say there is this thought, there is this thought that comes about and says that, let's try to ensure so let's say there is this thought that comes about and says that, and this is to do with the fact that, the tribal development in India. Okay. So the thought, let's say initially when the thought came about, the thought was that let's integrate all of the tribal people into the mainland. Okay. Now, that thought, if it played out, what would happen? You would lead to just cookie cutter communities, which you are just bringing all of the people into your mainland, imposing your culture, imposing your political systems, your social setups on them. And some of them will actually, at least a large majority of them will fall into line. But always what is going to happen? You have led to the loss of a lot of culture, destruction of certain setups that is there. And from that, what can come about? From those kind of, frictions, you can have, tinier thoughts that come about that say that, no, what they did was not right. We should not have been integrated into this. We should have been able to preserve our own culture. Okay, so which means what? When I'm saying do all thoughts find worlds, you also have to see the fact that yes, most of the thoughts that are there can find their worlds, but what happens is when this process does happen, it can also lead to the destruction of existing worlds. If you look at the roots of certain insurgencies in our country in the form of Naxalism and everything, you can see that the thought comes about because certain worlds of theirs got destructed by another thought. So what's going to happen? When thoughts find worlds, there is always the possibility of it getting countered by an opposite equal thought. Okay, and is this process actually essential? Do thoughts have to be finding their worlds and having this process? Yes. This entire thought process, pun intended, this entire thought related process is essential, because only then what happens is the best thought, whatever is there, will remain. And to quote this, for example, when the constitution makers were sitting and making the constitution, what did they try to do? They didn't try to just get stuck on one thought. They took such thoughts from different constitutions and they tried to integrate it into one. So then what happens? Only then will you get the best version of it. So thoughts find their worlds. It can create the world. But again, what happens is you cannot be so narrow-minded that you will get stuck in that world. Okay, so you need this entire process, because only then the best thought will remain. You will not get stuck in one particular thought. You will always have the scope for dissent. You will always have discussions, and through that discussions, we might not even know what happens is new worlds again or new thoughts can get created. In the conclusion of this, you can quote, you would have heard about this very famous philosopher called as René Descartes, and he had come about with a quote that says, I think, therefore I am. It has many interpretations, but for what we are going to use over here, you can say that, see, I've been endowed with the ability of thought, and that thought process is what makes me who I am, and that shapes the world around me also. Okay, so thought is of essence. Even if it's a bad thought, it is of essence, because only then there would be discussions about what can be better than this. Is there an alternative to this? And that will lead to more thoughts that might actually be path-breaking, be so different from the rest of the things that we see. So this is how I have brainstormed this particular or interpreted this particular essay. I hope you've written it well.